Hello everyone, and welcome back to the SBRE. In today's video, we're going to recap a 2010 movie called The Social Network. It's a story of how Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook, lost a friendship, gained 2 lawsuits, and became the youngest billionaire in the world. Make sure you watch till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy. The story starts in a pub where Mark Zuckerberg and his then-girlfriend Erica Albright were on a date. Mark was talking about how people in China had more IQ than anyone in the US. He was so abruptly changing topics that Erica was having a hard time keeping up. Mark remarks about his SAT score and lack of ability to sing in an a cappella group. Erica remarks how she doesn't particularly like a cappella, but is a fan of the row team. To which Mark immediately gets defensive, saying he can't do that either, as boys in the row team are buff and equivalent to world-class athletes. Their conversation grows tense as they talk about Mark getting into an exclusive final club. He gets very defensive and a little offended when Erica asks which finals club would be easiest to get into. Erica points out his obsession with the finals club and Mark brushes it away. Mark rudely continues how she should be more supportive of him because when he gets into a final club, she would get a free pass to attend some of the most exclusive parties with him as his girlfriend and meet people she wouldn't normally meet. The way he said it sounded very rude and entitled, and it offended Erica, who broke up with him after this. They engage in a little argument, and when Mark points out how they are in this club only because she slept with the doorman, Erica is appalled at his rude behavior, stating if it's possible, she would never want to see him again. The scene shifts, and we see Mark in his dorm room drinking beer while typing away on his computer. He was writing a blog about his recent breakup with Erica. He writes very bad things about her, making fun of her name, calling her a bitch, and commenting on her bra size. He then publishes it on a public blog for everyone to see. Then, to get his mind off Erica, he has an idea to create a website where people can compare girls' faces and choose their favorite. To get the pictures, he hacks into several online groups and houses in Harvard. It doesn't take long to put the website together, and he names it Face Smash. This is where we meet his best friend Eduardo, who helps him with this final algorithm. The website goes viral on the campus. We see Erica's roommate reading Mark's blog and warning her about the horrible thing he had written. The next thing she knows, she's getting teased by a bunch of guys holding a bra. Within 2 hours of the website going live, it had crashed Harvard's network system. Their idea was a huge success. The scene shifts to the future, where we see Mark and Eduardo in a conference room with their lawyer. They were discussing the face smash incident and Erica's testimony, which Mark claims were full of made-up lies. The scene shifts to the past again. We see Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss rowing their boat. Later in the cafeteria, they are joined by their friend Divya, who is elated by the news of how some undergrad student blew up Harvard's network. The three are very impressed with Mark's skill and decide they want to work with him on their new project. The next day, we see Mark attending a disciplinary meeting where he gets an academic probation of 6 months. In between his class, he gets a note from a girl that curses at him and leaves the class. He meets with the Winklevoss twins in the hallway who ask him to come to their dorm room. There, they tell him their idea of making Harvard Connection. That would be exclusively for Harvard students, where people can display their profile and meet girls who are interested in dating a guy from Harvard. Mark agrees to work with him without asking too many questions. The next scene shows another conference room where Mark and Eduardo are joined by the Winklevoss twins and their friend Divya. Currently, Mark Zuckerberg is in the middle of 2 lawsuits, one by Eduardo and the other by the Winklevoss twins. The lawyers ask when Mark approached Eduardo with the idea of building the Facebook, and the scene shifts to the past. We see Eduardo at a party before Mark comes in a second later. Eduardo excitedly tells Mark about getting an invite from one of the most exclusive groups on the campus, the Phoenix, and we see Mark going silent at the news. He then abruptly changes the subject and asks Eduardo to join him outside. There, in the chilling 20-degree temperature, he explains to Eduardo his idea of Facebook. The moment cuts to the future, where Eduardo explains how he was all set for this brilliant idea. He also pointed out how Mark came to him and not his programmer roommates because he needed $1,000 for the project. He offered Eduardo a term of 70-30 and a position as the CFO in their future company, to which he agreed readily. Back in the future, Mark gets angry when the lawyer implies that Zuckerberg was jealous of Eduardo getting invited to the exclusive club, and that's why he decided to screw him over. The argument gets a little out of hand. Still in the future, the scene shifts to another conference room where Winklevoss's lawyer is questioning Eduardo as a witness. He alleged that in the week Mark was building Facebook, he was leading the Winklevosses to believe that he was working on Harvard Connection, when really he wasn't. He further provides some shared emails with Winklevoss and Mark. In the emails, he did seem like he was stalling for time and avoiding meeting with them. We see the Winklevoss twins and Divya gradually get impatient and suspicious of Mark. In the meantime, Eduardo was invited by the Phoenix again for the second round. In his final email, Mark expressed some displeasure regarding the website, but in the same week, he is seen registering Facebook's domain name. In the future, Mark absolutely denies copying the twins, stating not a single code on his system matches theirs. In the past, we see Mark stuck on something when a classmate of his comes to him and asks him about a girl in his class and if she's single. He suddenly gets inspired by an idea and runs to his dorm to execute it. After adding the tab relationship status, he declares to Eduardo that the site is ready to go live. He asks Eduardo for the email of all the Phoenix members, and though he hesitates at first, he ends up caving in. Divya and his girlfriend are hanging out with her friends, and she is complaining about getting the same link over 10 times. When she clicks the link, it takes her to Facebook. Divya is so startled by what he sees that he falls over while hurrying to meet the Winklevoss twins, who were in the middle of a rowing practice when Divya barged in and informed them that Mark had stolen their idea. In the next scene, we see one of the Winklevoss twins talking on the phone with his father's lawyer, where Divya and Tyler are ready to sue Mark and even do some physical damage. Cameron is determined to solve this calmly. In the future, the lawyer representing the Winklevoss twins asks why Mark didn't ask the twins for funding since they came from a wealthy family. Mark shuts down the remark, stating he chose Eduardo because he was his best friend and a person he wanted to partner with. The lawyer makes a snide remark about how his best friend is now suing him for $600 million. In the past, we see Eduardo and Mark attending Bill Gates' lecture as two girls talk to them, ask them out for a drink, and tell them to Facebook them. Eduardo is elated by the success of their internet venture, but his good mood quickly drowns when they reach Mark's dorm room and he sees a letter from a lawyer directed to Mark. Mark dismisses his concerns and convinces him to have fun with the girls. After having a great time with the girls in the men's room, Eduardo and Mark are guarding the door when Mark spots a familiar face in the crowd. His ex-girlfriend Erica. He approaches her and asks to talk outside, but she refuses, counting all the things Mark had done to screw her over when she had been nothing but nice to him throughout their relationship. Mark leaves her at the table, but suddenly he is determined to expand the Facebook to other campuses like Yale and Stanford. His team gets to work, and soon the Winklevoss twins get the news that Facebook has expanded. The Winklevoss twins decide to take action and meet with the president of Harvard regarding the matter, as it clearly states in the Harvard rulebook that stealing is forbidden. The scene shifts, and we see Sean Parker, the founder of Napster, checking his email on a girl's computer where a page is left open. It was Facebook. The next scene shows the Winklevoss twins sitting outside the president's office. When they talk to him, he is very adamant that the issue doesn't involve Harvard, and Harvard won't get involved in these petty fights. Tyler nearly curses at the president. They leave feeling disappointed. In the conference room, we see Eduardo talking about their first business venture when they were looking for investors. The first meeting was terrible. The second one, even more so. Sean Parker showed up 30 minutes late before he droned on about his own business ventures for hours. According to Eduardo, Sean was paranoid and delusional. But by the end of the meeting, he had convinced Mark to drop the in Facebook and move to California. Back at the dorm, we see Mark holding a newspaper reading an article about Eduardo's alleged animal cruelty, which was false. He brushed off the matter talking with Eduardo about more investments, as they are now hiring 2 interns and moving to California. Eduardo was against the idea of moving to California, but when Mark insisted, he gave in and deposited another $18,000 into their account. Shortly after moving to California, Mark encounters Sean Parker again. When he sees them working on Facebook, he offers to help them with connections and investments. Sean takes Mark to parties and gives him valuable insights, constantly boosting Mark about how Facebook is a billion-dollar idea. We can see Mark getting influenced by Sean. The scene moves to a royal regatta taking place in Britain. Both the Winklevoss twins are participating, but unfortunately, their team loses in just a nick of time. Things get even worse when someone tells them about how their daughter watched the race on Facebook. They couldn't believe it when they found out that Facebook had expanded to 2 continents and over 120 schools. Divya and Tyler Winklevoss again try to convince Cameron to sue Mark, and this time, he finally agrees. In California, we see Sean with some girl when the doorbell rings. It's Eduardo soaking in the rain. He's surprised and annoyed to see Sean at the house. Mark tells Eduardo how big their little startup has gotten and that Sean has hooked them up with some wealthy investors. Later, Eduardo decided to take action and freeze the bank account he had set up for the company. On the other hand, Mark revives an investment of $500,000. In the next scene, we see Eduardo back in New York when his psychotic girlfriend Casey walks into the apartment angry. He tries to pacify her with a gift, but when he is attending a phone call from Mark, Casey sets his bed on fire and leaves. On the phone, Mark calls Eduardo childish for freezing their account and gives him the good news about the investment. He further invites him back to California to be his CFO. In California, Eduardo signs a document before accepting his position in the company. In the future, he admits that was the biggest mistake he ever made and that he should have shown his lawyer the documents before signing. On a big occasion, when Facebook was about to hit the 1 million milestone, Eduardo was called in for a meeting. As he read the document, he couldn't believe what he was reading. Furious, he stormed out to find Mark, broke his computer, and asked him if he had planned to throw out Facebook all along. Turns out, Mark had issued more shares for Facebook and diluted Eduardo's 30% shares to only 0.3%. Sean boasts how he is no longer a part of Facebook, and even his name has been removed from the founders page and tries to give him a check of $19,000. He warns Mark that he's going to sue him for everything he has, and he leaves the building. Facebook hits the 1 million milestone, but Mark doesn't seem too happy. Sean, on the other hand, takes out some interns with him to a party. The party is filled with intoxicated people and drugs. Not long after, Sean is caught by the police with white powder in his hand along with 5 interns of Facebook. Mark and Sean got into an argument because this news was going to be all over the internet. Mark asks Sean to go home and we can see a crack in their friendship. In the final scene, we see that the hearing is wrapped up for the day, but Mark is still there. The female lawyer stops to talk with Mark, saying that he will probably have to settle with other parties because his case wasn't too favorable. She also states that Mark wasn't a bad guy, but he was trying very hard to be one. As he is left alone, we see Mark sending a friend request to his ex-girlfriend Erica Albright. The scene slowly fades away as he sits there refreshing the page again and again. That was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. What were your thoughts about the movie? Would you watch it? Which would you like to see us recap next? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for our channel for more videos like this. Thank you.